we've talked about data mining, marketing, creating a schedule around that. And we're now going, if we've done those, we've watched those first 3 videos and we're taking action on what you've been taught, you should be generating phone calls now. And for some of y'all, that could be exciting, and for others, that could be extremely fearful. So all that taken into consideration though, once this phone starts ringing, that's your opportunity to make some money. You should be extremely happy. And if you do have nerves about taking that phone call, something I'd recommend you do is go out and find like some for sale by owner listings on Craigslist, Facebook, Zillow, FSBO.com. Go out and find some of those. It doesn't have to be in your own backyard. You can call anywhere in the United, or not even the United States, anywhere in the world you want to, and start talking to them about their house, asking them questions about, is there anything wrong with the house? Why are you selling the house? What's going on? Et cetera, et cetera. But always trying to drive that conversation down into actually making an offer on their home over the phone. Now, some of y'all are freaking out like, how am I going to make an offer on a home? I've never even seen it. I've never done that. That's the point of these calls, to get you through all of those thought processes so you're a little calmer when you're actually on the phone with marketing calls that you have generated yourself. Okay? Now, what I want you to do when you're making those FSBO calls is offer them half of what they listed it for. If they have it listed for $200,000, offer $100,000. If they have it listed for $500,000, offer $250,000. Offer half of what they're offering it for, and you're going to find out really quickly how people react when you hit them with a lowball offer. Now, when you start out, that offer is not going to be polished. It's not going to sound good. It's not going to be clean. And you're going to make that offer and you're going to get an F you and a hang up. Or someone's going to laugh at you like, are you joking? Like, what are you doing? Are you wasting my time? You get what I'm saying though? You're going to need to get used to hearing those no's. You're going to need to get used to offering what you want to offer for a house. And you need to get used to handling the objections once they start rolling in. And you do that 100 times in a week, you're going to have a lot of understanding of what those objections are, how different personalities handle the offer differently, and then learning to start gauging what personality you're on the phone with and learning how to deliver that low offer in such a way that the rapport is not destroyed. So you'll learn that over time. I don't want you to do that with the marketing that you just paid money for. So if you are marketing, hit some FSBOs for free and call them up first to find out whether or not you are going to be able to pull through and get those demons out of your head and start actually pushing forward and making some money on these calls. So I'm going to take care of quite a bit of the basics of what you need to be doing on this call, on this slide. One of the things that I get asked a lot for is, do you have scripts? Will you give me scripts? Will you give me your script? And I always respond back, no. I'm not going to give you my script because I don't have a script. There will be things that I've learned over time that I like, but I don't ever turn them into a script. I always want it to sound flowing. I always want it to sound even. So whenever I first get somebody on the phone call, I want to confirm their contact information. Hi, this is Daniel with I-35 Home Buyers. Was there anything that I can do for you? Okay, blah, 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 blah. Can I go ahead and gather your contact information just in case I get disconnected? I can call you right back, your name, your phone number. Can I go and get your email in case I need to email you something? Or I always try and get their email throughout the conversation where it seems natural. But I try and get all their information right then and there. That gives me the ability, in case the call is disconnected or I need alternate points of contact for this person, like I'll get their cell phone number, hey, do you got a house number? Whatever information I can get. Don't try and be pushy with it. Try and make it simple. You don't want to get pushy with it, but get their contact information. And then as soon as I get their contact information, I'm going to start moving towards what we're going to call open-ended questions. Questions that do not result in a yes or no. And it's going to be fun sometimes. You'll get on the phone call with somebody and they're like, you'll ask them a open-ended questions like, do you have any particular, what would be, I'm falling flat on my face trying to think of an example of an open-ended questions like, ignore it. I'm going to move on past that, okay? So open-ended questions. Here are some of the ones that I use quite often on the phone. And one of the first ones I'll start out with as soon as I get off their contact information is, can you tell me a little bit of the history of the house? That is not a yes or no question. That should get these people to just start talking. And while they're talking, take notes. Take notes. You'll find out that you're going to get a lot of the information that you're wanting in a script just from asking that simple question. What are some of the information you're going to want to know? Potentially when they bought it, what they've done to it since they've bought it, what kind of problems the house has, beds, bath, square footage, year built. You know, you might be able to pull those through as they're talking. You know, we bought it in 1978. Or do you remember what year the home is? And then boom, and then and then we remodeled the bedroom. Well, how many bedrooms are there? You know, just learn how to casually start putting those in so you don't sound like a robot on the phone asking question after question after question after question. Once I get them going through that, most of the time while that's going on, I'm doing some due diligence in the background. But another question I'll ask them is, if I gave you a Home Depot gift card, and I spelt depot wrong, if I gave you a Home Depot gift card with $5,000 on it, where would you spend it? That's a good question to ask. You know, if I just gave you $5,000 on a Home Depot credit card, where are you going to spend it? Gift card. Well, I'd get the fence replaced. Well, they didn't tell you the fence needed to be redone. Or I'd get a new roof. Well, they didn't tell you it needed a new roof. I'd get new countertops. The kitchen's a little outdated. It starts giving you some information on the house of where they think the home needs improvements. I would then follow that up from $5,000 to $10,000, and then maybe up to $15,000 to $20,000 to see if I can start getting them to tell me specific things about the home that they otherwise did not disclose to me. I'd replace the hot water heater. It doesn't seem to last that long, etc. You know, a good one is, why have you decided to sell? So I've gone through, I have found out some history on the home. I found out a little bit about the repairs based upon that one Home Depot credit card question. Another one I always like to ask is, why have you decided to sell? You can get people to really open up with that simple question. It's like, you know, sometimes you'll say, well, why have you decided to sell? And they'll respond back and just say something as simple as, I just want to. Well, that didn't really help you out, but oftentimes they'll be like, well, you know what, I lost my job, and then I've got it behind on my payments, and then I did this, and then this, and then this, and then 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, you're still hearing. That's okay. I do know that there are quite a few people that handle their phone calls differently. They like to get on there and just drive for the key questions and then make an offer in 5 minutes and then hang up the phone call. If I feel like there is motivation there, I will let that phone call be 20, 30 minutes long. That's my particular style. We all have our own styles, and that's why there's plenty in the world for us all to go around, because I will connect with the seller that you may or may not be able to. You will connect with a seller that I may or may not be able to, and we're both able to pull down deals. My style is, I'll just stay on the phone with them and keep them talking if I feel like there's a motivation there for them to sell their house. If I feel like they're just spinning my wheels, I'll kill the phone call. But if I feel like they're motivated, I will just talk and talk and talk with them, and that will give me more and more information about what's going on with the house. If I'm on the phone call, some of the questions that I might look towards delivering to gauge whether or not there's going to be a cash offer here, or if maybe I could pull down some form of owner financing, is, are there any immediate pressing concerns that are needing to be solved financially? I didn't put financially on there, but I'll ask, are there any immediate concerns that need to be resolved financially? If they say yes, I'm like, well, what's going on? Well, I've got XYZ bill. I've got this, and this. I got XYZ. You never know what the answer is going to be. But if you can find out what their why is, that will often help you tailor an offer to help them solve their problem. Okay? Now, if they ever say there are no immediate cash needs, I, as an experienced real estate investor that know more asset or more strategies than just wholesaling, I might start trying to tailor a owner finance offer to that person, so that way I can take control of the asset and do whatever I want to with it. I could, you know, go out and rent it. I could turn around and sell it on a wrap. I could rehab it and sell it. I got a lot of different options I could do, and I could offer them more for their house if they don't need immediate cash up front. That is some more advanced techniques. If you don't know subject to wraps and some owner financing and with notes, go watch those in the Propelio Academy. We have some great instructors here that provide this information to you at no cost to you. I can promise you it costs us a lot, but it costs you nothing. But like, we've had Eddie Speed in here. We've had Troy Fullwood in here, both talking about notes. We've got Grant Kemp in here that offers an amazing course on subject to and wraps. I mean, that course is the absolute epitome of perfection when it comes to subject to and wraps, in my opinion. All of that's still there and available to you in the Academy, so don't let the lack of knowledge scare you. It's available to you. What else do we have? If there are no immediate needs to resolve, would you be open to maximizing your profit? So that's my lead into an owner financing thing. That's just a small example of some of the questions that I like to ask. As you progress and you move through this, you're going to have conversations, especially if you call the FSBOs like I recommended at the beginning of this class. If you call those, you're going to start recognizing that there's things that you have said that didn't work, and there are things that you have said that did work. Now, through documenting that, because it's going to be your natural delivery style, I'd rather you maximize your delivery than try and copy mine. You go through and you figure those out, you're going to really start honing in on the keywords that work well for you and how to tailor those into a conversation. You would likely be best served recording those phone calls when you're calling out. I know that CallRail will do that. I know that RingCentral would do that for me. I use RingCentral. I'm pretty sure CallRail does. I've used CallRail a little bit, but RingCentral definitely would. If you record them, that gives you the ability to go back and listen to that call over again, and you might catch some nervous tics that you're doing that you don't even realize you're doing while you're on the phone. Like maybe you're tapping on the desk, or you just keep saying you can figure out what's going on and start trying to clean up your delivery so you sound a little more polished. You don't need to sound like a salesman, just sound a little more relaxed on the phone. Getting relaxed on the phone is going to be good for you. But while I'm asking all those questions, like I said, I do like to do my due diligence in the background. I will pull up Propelio.com and start running my comps so that way I can get an accurate assessment of my retail value will be on that property. That, with Propelio, while I'm on the phone, will take me about 45 seconds. Within 45 seconds, I see some sales comps in front of me, and I can really quickly say, okay, I got a ballpark that this home's going to be worth about $230-ish fixed up, and that allows me to continue that conversation with a real quick understanding of the knowledge. One of the main things that I'm trying to do with those open-ended questions while I'm going through and asking them is I want to uncover the emotions behind the house. Are these people just disconnected from it? They're like, I'm done, I'm letting it go, I'm tired of it? Or, are they very, very attached to the property and they're like, you know what, I don't want to sell it, I don't want to get rid of it. I'm trying to figure out what their motivations are, what is pushing them and driving them to sell this house. But if I ask enough of the right questions, I should be able to gauge the motivation of the seller. Okay, if I'm gauging the motivation of the seller, what happened there? Okay, if I'm gauging the motivation of the seller, then I've got two paths that I'm going to go down whenever I start making this offer. Do I want to immediately set the appointment and get to the house as fast as I possibly can? What is going to dictate that? If I can tell that this seller is extremely motivated, I want to get off the call as fast as I can and get over to the house as fast as I can. Or, depending upon your comfort level and how you're going to be able to run this, right then and there, offer straight over the phone and try and get the contract over the phone. If they're motivated and they're seriously motivated and they're trying to push that appointment off for 2 or 3 days, I could try and contract it right there over the phone. If you're a virtual wholesaler, that's going to be the only path that you have. But what I would want to do is if I can tell they're motivated, I want to get to the house as fast as I possibly can, and I try to get that appointment like yesterday. There is no, can we wait till the weekend? No. Well, I work nights. Okay, I can be at your house at 4 o'clock in the morning. I can be at your house at 3 o'clock in the morning. If they're motivated, get there. It's that important. But what if I'm on the phone and the person's like, I'm just curious as to what you'd offer. I was wanting to see, if I could sell it. If I can't, I'll just keep it. That's not a very motivated person, in my opinion. I don't want to spend a bunch of my week just going to houses to go to houses. When you first start out, it may be worth your time to just go on a couple of those dead appointments. I call them dead because you're not going to get a deal out of it if they're not motivated. You go on some of those dead appointments just so you can get comfortable with walking and talking with a homeowner, getting into a house. Your goal should be getting into 100 houses as fast as you possibly can. Go walk 100 houses. If you can knock that out in a month, even if you're going through and touring MLS distressed properties, get into as many properties as you possibly can so you can start seeing what a distressed home could look like. Just getting an idea of walking through, and the more appointments you can go on where you're walking through with the seller, the more experience you'll have, and the more experience you have, the more likely you will be to succeed in this business. But if I go through and I gauge the motivation and I can tell that they have limited to none, I am going to just go ahead and ask them this key question. I got this question from Bryce McKinley. He does a Facebook group where he does a lot of live cold calling, and he's really good at the negotiation portion of this business. And one of the key questions he asks all of the people when he's talking to them is, if I give you a fair cash offer, would you close today? That will give you a very clear indication of how motivated this seller is. If I gave you a fair cash offer, would you close today? If they're like, I'm not really sure, well, boom, they're not motivated. And they're like, yeah, I need a boom. Well, now they are. It's a key gate. It's a gate opener. You really find out fast whether or not this person is wanting to do business with you. But if I go through and I ask that question and I am clearly obvious that they're not motivated, I make them a blind offer right there over the phone. I will use something along the lines of, hey, based upon some of the information you've told me, it seems like in that neighborhood and in the condition you've given me on the property, I would likely be ballparking an offer somewhere between $50,000 and $75,000. Does that sound like we're even in line? Now, if they respond back and they're like, yeah, I could possibly do that, well then boom, yeah, I'll go set the appointment and go out there right then and there. But if they're like, no, I couldn't even drop a dime below 130,000. Well, if I know the max range that I'm going to be in is close to 75, and we'll talk about the offer structures in the next video, how to decide what your offer should be. But if I know that I'm at 75 and they're at $130, I might offer them some terms over the phone. Like, would you be willing to take that 130,000 in 360 equal payments? Well, if they're not willing to do that, I'll just do this. I'll input them into my data, input the data into my lead management system, and then set my lead management system into a follow-up. You will get more money in this business in your follow-up than you will in your active marketing. If you maintain churning through your existing leads and you continuously call them up, don't just make the offer and then forget about them. Make the offer and set them for a follow-up, 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 follow-up. You can use Propelio to manage your leads. You can set your tasks in there so that you can do your follow-ups, but you must set your follow-ups. If they're not motivated, blind offer or a blind offer over the phone. If they balk at the blind offer and they're not even in the same ballpark, I'll hit them up on terms. If the terms are a no, then I'll just go ahead and say, you know what, I'll follow up with you in a couple weeks and see, what's going on. Drop them in on a lead management system. I do not book that appointment. Why? At the peak of my wholesaling business, I was getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of phone calls. If you are getting that many inbound phone calls into your company every single month, you will find that you can really tie up a lot of time on the phone. And if you try and book every single one of them for an appointment, you are going to be spinning your tires going after bad deals when there are great deals standing there begging you to sell it, but you didn't get to them because you were too busy chasing a bad deal, something that would never happen. I'm going to go on a side tangent right here because it's pertinent to what I just said. As a newer wholesaler, you need to be able to quickly and accurately gauge what's going to be a good deal and which one's going to be a tire kicker. Many newer investors will get in front of a tire kicker and then devote 100% of their 50, 60 hours a week to that tire kicker for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then they eliminate all their RGA, they eliminate all their needs and wants, and they do nothing but focus on this non-motivated seller because they want to help them. Let's clear a few things up. As a wholesaler, your goal as a mission should be to help these people, but we must be very point blank and honest up front. And I love getting this. I got this from Grant Kemp, another instructor here in the Propelio Academy. He is very good at setting the precedent. As soon as he walks into the house, he's like, hey, I want to help you. And I truly will do everything I can that makes business sense to help you. But this is absolutely a business and a business decision for me. And as much as I would love to help you, there will be things that I have to look at from a business owner standpoint, because if this business does not make any money, I cannot survive. So I am here to make money, and I will have to make my decisions based upon my business. But if there's anything that I can do to help you, I most definitely will, as long as it makes sense to me and my business. He sets that precedent real close up front. Now, I butchered the delivery on that a little bit. He always says it far better than I will. But you need to make sure that you don't spend a ton of your time with a tire kicker because you want to help them. It better clearly have an obvious path to success. Otherwise, you are taking business away from you that you should be spending focusing on drumming up new leads and or following up on old ones, or focusing on the leads that are not tire kickers. Side tangent, but I think it's extremely important. If I do gauge that the person is extremely motivated, like I mentioned earlier, get the appointment yesterday. There's nothing you can do to get to that appointment fast enough, because they can and will hang up the phone with you and go straight to the next person and just keep going and going and going until someone can show up. If you can tell that they're extremely motivated, but they're trying to push off the appointment for 2 or 3 days, see if you can boil down exactly why they're pushing the appointment off, and then see if you can accommodate a structure that will allow you to get there sooner, or take the offer directly over the phone and contract it over the phone with the precedent that when I show up, my offer might change a little bit depending upon the condition of the house. I'll go through and talk more about that as we move forward. We're going to talk about virtual wholesaling in a future lesson in this course, so I'll talk more about that there, okay? Once I set the appointment though, I want to try to make sure I have all parties associated to the transaction at the appointment with me. Like if it's a husband and wife, I don't want to go on the appointment with just the husband. Why? Well, I got to ask my wife. Now I've gone to the appointment, I don't get the contract, and I'm still waiting on the wife to show up. I want all parties there. If I cannot get all parties there at the exact same time, I will not turn down the appointment on a motivated seller. But when I get there, I will do everything I can to at least get half of the parties' transaction signatures. Always, always, always try and get all parties there though at the same time. If you do show up on the appointment, I'll talk about it now because I don't know if I'll remember to talk about it there, and you have, a half of a party, and they're like, well, I need to discuss it with XYZ, then that's when you take a break and say, okay, well, I'm going to take a couple phone calls. I need to call my business partner back, and I got a couple other leads I need to follow up on. Give me a moment to step out to my car and run some stuff, and I'll come right back in after you finish talking to the other party, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have. We can hop on a three-way call. Don't use that as an excuse because you're nervous to haul ass. Grow roots in that house, do not leave, and do everything you can possible to get all decision makers that are available on board with your conversation and get the signatures while you're there. Okay, what happens if there's a real estate agent involved with this? What happens if you're getting into a deal and there's a real estate agent involved? It doesn't change your business up that much. You should still be an educator that provides options, that's 100% honest, and you convey the value of what you can bring to the table. Those are the four things that you can do. Well, you do the exact same thing with the real estate agent, and I'll talk about number 5 in a moment. Educate the real estate agent on how you provide value to this transaction. I am a real estate wholesaler. I have connections with 4,000 to 5,000 real estate investors here locally. I provide marketing and I secure solid deals under contract, and I either purchase them myself, or I partner with one of these people to fund it, or I assign them the contract. That is how I can bring value to this. Now, I understand that you as the agent are needing to protect your buyer, and I completely respect that. I'm not asking to burn up 30 days, 40 days of your contract and leave you hanging. What I'll do is if you give me 72 hours on this contract, I can introduce this property at this price to these 5,000 investors. And if any of them 5,000 investors want to partner with me on it, loan me money on it, and or buy the contract from me, then I can get this deal taken care of and we can go to closing and I can give you that answer in 72 hours. If you would be willing to give me that 72 hours, that's what I can do for you. I just sped through that and I kind of butchered some of it, but you're getting the point. I need to educate them on who I am and what I can do, explain to them what options I can provide to them. I'll be 100% honest. I'm not lying to them and just saying, you know what, I'm going to buy it no matter what, et cetera, et cetera. That's how real estate agents get pissed off at wholesalers, because they get burned by people that lie to them. And then we create a bad image for us as an industry. We don't do that. The last thing that we're going to talk about that an agent might try and bring up is that you are practicing without a license. Now, what do I mean by that? Most states have some level of laws that state if you are going to broker a deal between two parties that involves real estate, you must have a real estate license. Most states have that. Well, an agent might see you as being one of those people. It's like, well, how are you going to get this person and find this person and then collect a fee in between? That sounds like you're doing real estate agent activities. No, actually, it's not. So I have several exit strategies that I might be able to employ on this property. One, I'll purchase it myself through the use of private money or hard money. B, I will partner with another investor and collect a portion of their profits. Or C, that same investor may be willing to pay me those profits immediately up front and eliminate me from the deal, and I'll just assign them my contract. So I have equitable interest in this contract. I am not brokering on somebody else's behalf. I'm in this transaction on my behalf, and I am not acting as a licensed agent. I am acting on my own behalf in a transaction that I have equitable interest in. Now, if you can explain that to a real estate agent, they may or may not listen to you. Some agents just flat out hate real estate investors. Some real estate investors flat out hate agents. It's never going to change, but if you do get on the phone with an agent, explain to them how that works, and you'll either get a yes or a no. There's not much you can do beyond that, but that's just the additional third party that gets introduced whenever you have a real estate agent involved. That is the end of this slide. I do recommend for homework that you go out and you cold call a bunch of FSBOs, record those calls, start learning your process, learning where you're starting to stumble, see if you can gauge people's motivations, offer them half of what they're asking for their property so you can handle the rebuttals coming back from these people, the objections. You can handle how the rapport breaks down. And it gives you the experience you need so that when you are paying for your marketing, you're not wasting that marketing on practice calls. You don't want to do that. So go out there, cold call a bunch of FSBOs, put together your paperwork, take your notes, and I hope you enjoyed this in the Propelio Academy. We're going to move on to the acquisition. See you on the next one.